They told everyone I wasn't built for real work. Funny coming from the same parents who had me running that family repair shop before I was old enough to legally sign a waiver. I kept the lights on, the customers loyal, the bills paid, but when it was finally time to pass the shop down, they handed it, smiling, to my sister's husband, a man who couldn't fix a loose doorknob. I didn't argue. I walked out, bought a broken-down unit with my last savings, and built a repair shop that made theirs look prehistoric, and the twist, they came begging. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. I don't think people understand what it feels like to grow up inside a business that everyone else takes for granted. The family repair shop wasn't just a building with rusty tools and squeaky hinges. It was practically my childhood home. While other kids spent weekends at sleepovers, I spent mine sweeping floors, labeling old parts, organizing shelves, and running the front counter while my parents barked orders from the back. Every oil stain on that concrete floor had a memory attached to it, and every customer who walked in the door knew me by name long before they remembered my parents existed. I was the one who stayed late when the registers didn't balance. I was the one who took emergency calls when someone's car broke down at midnight. I was the one who handled refunds, complaints, inventory shortages, supplier negotiations, all the parts of a business my parents didn't want to deal with. And despite how hard it was, I believed I was earning something. You know that quiet hope you carry when you're young? That if you work hard, stay loyal, and never complain, the people who raised you will one day look at you with pride and say, "This is yours now." I clung to that hope like it was oxygen. But apparently I was the only one holding on to that fantasy, because behind the scenes, my parents were having conversations that would make every hour of my life in that shop feel like a complete waste of time. It started with small signs, little moments I should have caught sooner. My mom telling me to look more presentable when greeting customers, while my sister got praised simply for dropping by. My dad calling me overly emotional whenever I suggested improvements that would actually make the shop profitable. And then there was my sister's husband, Mark, the walking embodiment of a midlife crisis packaged in the body of a man who believed Wi-Fi was a personality trait. He would wander into the shop like a bored tourist, hands in his pockets, offering comments like, "You should modernize," or "seems outdated," without ever lifting a finger to help. And yet my parents acted like he was a gift from heaven. I didn't take it seriously, not at first. I just kept working, kept believing, kept telling myself that loyalty eventually pays off. But then came the morning that should have been ordinary, except it wasn't. My mom asked me to come in early for a family discussion. I remember wiping my hands on my jeans, assuming it was about expanding the shop or restructuring roles. I walked into the small office in the back, still smelling like coolant and dust, and there they were, my parents sitting stiffly, my sister smirking softly, and Mark pretending to examine a framed certificate on the wall like he had ever earned one in his life. My dad cleared his throat. My stomach sank. Nothing good ever follows when a parent starts a sentence with a throat clearing. "We've made a decision about the future of the shop," he said. The room tilted in slow motion. I swear I could hear the humming of the old fluorescent light above us. My mom folded her hands on her lap as if she'd practiced the gesture in a mirror. My sister avoided eye contact. And Mark? He looked proud, smug even, victorious. "At this point," my dad continued, "it's clear that the business needs a fresh direction, someone new at the helm." Fresh direction, new leadership. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. For a second I thought maybe, just maybe, they were finally acknowledging how hard I'd worked, how much I'd built, how much of myself I'd poured into the place. But then my mom exhaled and finished the sentence that shattered every illusion I'd been clinging to since childhood. "We're transferring the shop to Mark." The air vanished. The sounds vanished. Even my pulse vanished. It felt like someone had taken the entire weight of the repair shop, every bolt, screw, wrench, and responsibility, and slammed it onto my chest all at once. My sister's husband, the man who didn't know how to hold a wrench correctly, the man who had never balanced a till, the man who once asked me if brake fluid was the same as windshield wiper fluid. That man, that useless, unqualified man, was getting my life's work. And you know what hit hardest? They didn't say they appreciated me. They didn't thank me. They didn't acknowledge the years I gave them. My mom only added, "It's a practical decision. You're too emotionally attached." And Mark has a more managerial presence. Managerial presence. I felt my throat burn. Rage, betrayal, disbelief, all fighting for space. I wanted to scream, flip the desk, walk out, something. But you know what I did? I nodded. Silence. Stone cold. Because sometimes silence is louder than fury. But tell me this, if you spent your whole life building something for people who clearly never valued you, what would you have done in that moment? The strange thing about betrayal is that it doesn't always explode. It seeps. It crawls under your skin, settles in your stomach, and waits for the moment you're finally alone to hit you so hard you forget how to breathe. After my parents announced they were giving the repair shop to Mark, they just moved on, as if they had made a casual comment about the weather. My mom started checking something on her phone, my dad reached for his coffee, and Mark looked at me with that forced humility people use when they're trying to hide triumph. It was surreal, like watching my own life happen behind glass. I remember stepping out of that office, the door clicking shut behind me, and standing in the middle of the shop that had been my whole world. The counters I cleaned, the displays I organized, the systems I built, the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices, the sweat, the tears I never let anyone see. Suddenly all of it felt foreign, like I'd walked into someone else's story by mistake. My sister followed me out, pretending to be sympathetic, wearing that fake concerned face she'd perfected since high school. "Don't take it personally," she said softly, tilting her head like she was consoling a child. "Dad just thinks Mark is stronger with business decisions." I almost laughed, because this was the same sister who once asked me if cars needed gas every day. "It's not about strength," I said. "It's about loyalty." She shrugged, as if loyalty were an outdated hobby, and said, "Well, Mark is family now." Family. That word stung more than anything, because apparently I wasn't part of that equation. I remember walking to the back hallway, the one that led to the break room, and stopping by the framed photo hanging on the wall. Me, at 16, covered in grease, smiling proudly as my dad handed me my first set of professional tools. I used to think that photo meant something. I used to believe it was proof that one day the shop would be mine. Now, it felt like a joke, a trophy awarded to a fool. Then, as if fate wanted to twist the knife deeper, I heard Mark's voice drifting from the office. He wasn't even trying to whisper. "She's been too controlling here. This place needs leadership, not someone running around doing everything herself." My mom agreed. My dad agreed. They all agreed. The three of them discussing me like I was a broken appliance they'd finally decided to replace. I could feel my throat tightening, but the pain wasn't sadness anymore. It was something hotter, sharper, darker. A fury I'd never felt before. I didn't cry, I didn't fall apart, I didn't beg them to reconsider. No, I walked back into that office, calm, composed, and said in a voice I barely recognized, "Congratulations, Mark, I hope you enjoy the shop." His eyebrows shot up, surprised that I wasn't fighting. My mom blinked, confused. My sister frowned. My dad opened his mouth as if he expected me to plead, argue, or at least defend myself, but I didn't owe them that, not anymore. "I'll grab my things," I added, "since I won't be needed here." My mom finally spoke, her tone sharp. "Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic. You can still work here. Mark will just be supervising now." That's when it clicked. They didn't just want to hand him the business. They wanted to demote me beneath him. They wanted me to build the throne he'd sit on. That was the moment something inside me snapped, so quietly and cleanly, it felt almost peaceful. I realized I'd been giving the wrong people the best parts of me, and maybe, just maybe, losing everything was the only way I would stop shrinking myself for people who refused to see my worth. I grabbed my bag, turned toward the exit, and for the first time in my life, I didn't look back at the shop. Not the walls, not the tools, not the memories, and definitely not the people who never once deserved the loyalty I gave them. But tell me, if your own parents expected you to work under the man who stole your legacy, would you have stayed? Leaving the shop that morning felt like peeling off a layer of skin. Every corner of that building had fingerprints of my life on it, and walking away from it meant walking away from everything I'd built, every hour I'd sacrificed. I didn't go home. I didn't even have the strength to face the walls of my apartment that still smelled like motor oil and burnt coffee. Instead, I drove with no destination in mind, just needing distance from the wreckage of what used to be mine. Eventually, I ended up parked in front of a little diner off the highway, the kind with chipped counters, bad coffee, and waitresses who looked like they'd seen every kind of heartbreak imaginable. I sat in a booth and stared at the black coffee in front of me until the surface stopped shaking. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. My tears had too much pride mixed into them. Somewhere between sips, I overheard a couple of mechanics at the next table talking about how the heart repair shop, my family's shop, was under new management. That phrase hit me like a wrench to the ribs. New management? They didn't even know they were talking about me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. One of them laughed and said, "Hope this new guy's better than the last one." I wanted to tell them I was the last one. I was the one who kept that shop alive. When the tools broke, when customers walked out, when Dad lost his temper and nearly ran it into the ground. But I didn't. I just sat there, fingers wrapped around a coffee cup I couldn't feel anymore, and made myself a promise I didn't yet know how to keep. They think they've replaced me? Fine. Let's see how long they last without the one person who actually knew what she was doing. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat at my small kitchen table, sketching ideas on a napkin. Layouts, equipment I'd need, names, designs. I didn't have much money, but I had skill, and skill, when combined with humiliation, can move mountains. The next day, I drove to a junkyard and bought an old workbench and a half-broken compressor for next to nothing. The guy who sold it to me looked skeptical. "You sure you can make something out of that?" he asked. "Watch me," I said. Within a week, I'd rented a tiny garage space on the edge of town, just 4 walls, a cracked floor, and a single light bulb that flickered like it didn't believe in me either. But it was mine. I called it Revive Repairs because that's what I was doing, reviving myself from the wreckage they left me in. I started small. One job at a time. Old clients started finding me through whispers. One woman showed up with a broken washing machine and said, "Your family's shop told me to replace it, but I remember how you fix things instead of tossing them." She left with a working machine and tears in her eyes. The next day, she sent her neighbor, then her cousin. Word spread faster than I could process. Meanwhile, my family didn't reach out, not once. But I didn't need their validation anymore. Because for the first time in my life, I was building something that couldn't be taken away with a pen and a signature. The irony? The customers weren't loyal to the shop name. They were loyal to me. Then came the first real test, the moment that told me I was no longer their shadow. A client walked in one morning holding a cracked alternator belt and said, "Your dad's shop told me this can't be fixed. They said it's hopeless." I smiled, took it from his hand, and replied, "Hopeless is my favorite kind of job." I fixed it in 2 hours flat. He left stunned and said, "You just cost them a customer." I shook my head. "No," I said, "they did that themselves." But success doesn't come without backlash. It started as whispers, then texts, then outright calls. My mom called first. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "People are saying you opened your own shop?" I didn't flinch. I did. "You can't just do that. It's unprofessional, disrespectful." "You mean independent," I corrected, "not disrespectful." "Mark's struggling," she said. "Customers keep asking for you. You're embarrassing us." "No," I said calmly. "You're embarrassing yourselves." Then she said the one thing that almost made me laugh. "We gave him the shop because we thought you'd support him." Support him? The man who didn't even know how to read an invoice? "You gave him the shop because you thought I'd stay quiet," I said. "You were wrong." After that, the silence between us became its own language. They didn't reach out again for months. But I didn't need them to. Because every day I walked into my small garage and saw it a little fuller. More tools, more orders, more light. Each sound of a working wrench, each spark of a repair finished, was another reminder that I didn't need their permission to exist. But one night, as I was closing up, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my sister. "Mark's been having a hard time. Maybe you should stop taking customers from us. Dad's furious." I stared at the screen for a long moment before typing my reply, "You can't lose customers that were never yours." I hit send, turned off the lights, and sat in the quiet hum of my workshop. You know what's funny? I didn't feel victorious. I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just steady, grounded, peaceful in a way I never was when I was begging for their approval. Because the truth is, when you stop chasing the people who hurt you, the world opens up for those who actually value you. And if you were me, after everything they did, after the betrayal, the silence, the lies, what would you do when they finally come knocking again? Open the door? Or let them stand outside, realizing too late that the one person they underestimated was the only one keeping everything together? The funny thing about success, real success, is that it doesn't come with warning bells or fireworks. It comes quietly, like a new heartbeat under your skin. One morning you wake up and realize you're not surviving anymore, you're winning. That's how it felt the first time I stepped into my garage and found 3 clients waiting outside before I even unlocked the door. They waved at me like I was a doctor arriving for emergency surgery. "Morning," one of them called. "Heard you're the one who actually fixes things around here." That line stuck to me like armor. Actually fixes things? It was a direct jab at the family shop, and they didn't even know they'd fired that shot. By noon, my garage, my tiny, humble, half-renovated repair space, was so full of work orders I had to turn off the phone just to catch my breath. My tools sang, my hands moved with purpose, my mind finally felt clear. Meanwhile, rumors began flying across town like sparks from a grinder. The repair shop isn't the same without her. Mark messed up another job. Her parents made a stupid decision. She's going to take the whole town's business soon. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. My work spoke for itself, and the louder my reputation grew, the more desperate things became for my family. It started with small things, subtle signs that their foundation was cracking. A customer complaining that Mark forgot to reattach a hose. Another saying he charged me for a part he didn't install. Someone else whispering, "Your dad looks stressed." But then it escalated, faster than they could control it. One day, a woman came into my shop holding a car battery like she was carrying a newborn. "They sold me this," she said, "and it died in 2 hours. I tested it, completely dead, absolutely useless, 100% a scam or complete incompetence." "And he told me you trained him," she added quietly. I felt something inside me twist. "They lied," I said. "He trained himself on Google." She laughed a bitter little laugh. Well, you can add me to your list. I'm done with them. I replaced her battery for almost nothing. She left hugging me, like I'd saved her from a catastrophe. That was the moment I realized something important. People weren't just leaving the family shop, they were fleeing it and going nowhere but me. Word must have traveled fast because the very next day my sister showed up again, this time furious in a way that didn't bother hiding itself. She walked into my garage like she owned the place, arms stiff, eyes wild. "You're sabotaging us," she spat. I raised an eyebrow. "I'm fixing your mistakes." "No," she snapped. "You're taking our customers. You're stealing our business. You're trying to destroy us." Put down my wrench. Calmly, slowly. "You can't steal something you built," I said. Her nostrils flared. "Oh, so now you think you built the shop?" "No," I said. "I know I did." She stepped closer. "Dad says you're acting like a traitor." "Dad said a lot of things when he handed my job to your husband." "You think this is funny?" "Funny," I repeated, letting the word linger. "No, predictable." She stared at me like she didn't recognize who I'd become. "Mark is drowning," she said. "He can't keep up. Customers hate him. Reviews are awful. People are talking." "People talked before," I said. "You just didn't listen." She swallowed hard, her voice cracking. "If he fails, the shop fails." I nodded. "Maybe it should." She recoiled as though I'd slapped her. "You're being cruel." "I'm being honest," I said quietly. "For once." She took a shaky breath. "Dad is thinking about selling the shop. Then he should do it before its value drops even lower." She looked at me with the most fragile expression I'd ever seen on her. Fear mixed with shame, mixed with something she couldn't put into words. "You don't care anymore," she whispered. "You really don't." "I cared," I said, "and you exploited it." She left without another word. I thought that was the climax of the day. I was wrong. That evening, as I locked up, a black SUV pulled into my driveway. For a second, panic shot through me. Was it Dad? Mark? Someone trying to confront me again? But the door opened, and out stepped a man in a business suit. Clean, polished, confident. He walked toward me with purpose. "Are you the owner of Revive Repairs?" "I am," I said cautiously. He extended his hand. "I'm the regional operations manager for a contracting and equipment company. We've been watching your work." Watching me? "We'd like to offer you a partnership contract," he continued. "We've heard exceptional things: precision, honesty, efficiency, qualities that stand out, especially with the unfortunate decline of the heart repair shop." He said the last part carefully but clearly. My heart hammered, but I kept my expression neutral. "What kind of partnership?" He handed me a folder. "A real one. Supplier discounts, equipment sponsorships, access to training networks. We believe you can scale bigger than any shop in this town." I stared at him, stunned. He nodded once. "Your work speaks for itself. We want to invest in your future." After he left, I leaned against the door of my garage, folder in hand, breathing like the air was suddenly thinner. Me. The discarded one. The underestimated one. The one they tossed aside like a broken tool. Being recognized, validated, chosen. And not because of my family name, but because I earned it. In that moment, something inside me hardened into steel. I wasn't just surviving. I wasn't just competing. I was becoming unstoppable. And if you were in my shoes, standing on the edge of a future your family said you'd never have, what would you do next? Smile? Cry? Or step forward knowing the storm has only just begun? When I woke up the next morning, I expected the adrenaline from that partnership offer to fade into something normal. Excitement, nerves, maybe even disbelief. But it didn't. It settled into my bones like a new kind of strength, one I'd never felt when I was working under my parents' roof. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was serving someone else's dream. I felt like I was stepping into my own. And that terrified my family more than any mistake Mark had made since taking over the repair shop. The storm didn't come gently. It hit in a single afternoon. My phone started buzzing nonstop. Missed calls from my mom, 5 from my sister, 1 from Dad, that made my stomach drop because he only called when something was either broken or on fire. I ignored every single one of them. I had work to finish, customers waiting, and a business finally blooming under my hands instead of someone else's shadow. But then, a knock echoed through my shop, loud enough to feel like someone was kicking the door. I wiped my hands on a rag and went to open it, fully expecting some kind of confrontation. But nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. All 3 of them, my mom, my dad, and my sister, standing at the entrance like a courtroom panel ready to deliver a sentence. My dad didn't wait to be invited in. He pushed past me like he still owned the place. "We need to talk," he said sharply. My mom followed, arms crossed tight over her chest, eyes darting around the shop with disapproval, jealousy, and something deeper. Fear. And my sister, she looked different today. She wasn't angry. She wasn't condescending. She looked shaken. "What do you want?" I asked. Refusing to let the tremor in my chest show in my voice, my dad turned, his face red with a kind of frustration that only comes from losing control. "You're destroying us." The words were so absurd I almost laughed. "You destroyed yourselves," I said. "I just stopped cleaning up after you." My mom stepped forward. "Your little side project is causing serious issues at the main shop." "Side project?" I repeated. "This is my business." "You're taking customers," Dad snapped. "You're undercutting prices. You're making us look incompetent." "You don't need my help for that," I replied flatly. My sister flinched. My mom's voice rose. "People are saying you're doing this out of spite." "I'm doing this out of survival," I corrected. "The spite was yours." My dad slammed his palm onto my workbench, tools rattling under the impact. "We gave that shop to Mark because we thought you needed guidance. You're too emotional, too impulsive." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You gave it to him because you never believed a daughter should run the family business. You hid your sexism behind fake logic, and now your golden boy can't keep the place afloat." My sister's eyes widened. My mom's lips parted. My dad froze. I had never said it out loud before, but it had lived inside me for years, and the silence that followed told me I was right. My father tried to regain control. "That company representative. You're lying. No one would sponsor a tiny shop like this." I walked to my desk, grabbed the partnership folder, and dropped it in front of him. His face blanched. My mom inhaled sharply. My sister whispered, "Oh my God." "This is real," I said. "They want me, not you, not Mark, me." For a brief moment, the shop was silent. So silent I could hear the ticking of the wall clock. Then my dad looked up, eyes sharp. "You need to turn it down." I actually choked on my breath. "Excuse me? It's not right," he said. "It isn't fair to us. You're profiting while we're falling apart. We're family." "Family?" My voice cracked, not with weakness, but with disbelief. "Where was that word when you handed my life's work to someone who didn't earn it?" My mom tried again, softer this time, manipulative, practiced. "Honey, please. We're asking you to think about the bigger picture." "I am," I said. "It just doesn't include sacrificing myself again." My sister stepped forward then, voice trembling. "Mark is drowning. He's not built for this. Dad made a mistake." I blinked. She had never admitted anything so honest in her entire life. My father spun toward her. "Watch your mouth." "No," she said, the first hint of a spine showing. "You should have given her the shop. You know it. Mom knows it. Even Mark knows it." My mother gasped like the confession was a betrayal. But I just stared at my sister, stunned. For a split second, I saw the girl she used to be, the one who looked up to me before the adults taught her jealousy. Then it vanished. My father regained command of the moment with a single order: "You need to close your shop." My head snapped toward him. What? You're ruining our livelihood, he said. You need to shut down, come back and work under Mark. We'll figure out something later. I stood there, staring at him, realizing exactly what I was to them. Not a daughter, not a partner, not an heir, a tool, a resource, something reusable as long as I stayed small. My voice came out steady, cold, final. No. My mother tried to step closer, but I held up my hand. You chose him, I said quietly. You chose incompetence over loyalty, ego over honesty, tradition over logic, and now you want me to rescue you? My dad opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You didn't just pick the wrong person for the shop. You picked the wrong daughter to underestimate. My sister whispered, Dad, let's just go. She tugged on his arm. He didn't budge at first, anger radiating off him like heat, but eventually he turned toward the door. He paused before leaving. You'll regret this. I took a slow breath and answered, No, you will. They walked out of my shop in absolute silence, the same way they walked out of my life the day they handed it to someone else. I locked the door behind them and leaned against it, heart pounding. Not in fear, but in a sense of power I'd never tasted before. Because now, I knew the storm wasn't coming. It was already here. And the next move, that would decide whether they sank or whether I finally rose above everything they tried to bury me with. The day after my family stormed out of my shop felt strangely calm, like the air itself was catching its breath before the final strike. I wasn't naive. I knew they weren't done with me. People like my parents don't accept being wrong, and they definitely don't accept losing control. But I didn't realize how desperate they had become until the universe handed me the kind of closure you can't script. That morning, I was finishing a repair job when a customer rushed in, breathless. Have you seen the news? He asked. I frowned. What news? He turned his phone around. There it was. Hart Repaired Shop shuts down temporarily after major safety violation. I read the headline 3 times before the words sank in. According to the article, someone had mixed up wiring during a repair. Badly, so badly that a customer's vehicle had nearly caught fire in their driveway. The state safety inspector shut them down for investigation. My chest tightened, not with guilt, but with the gravity of reality finally catching up to them. Mark had failed. Spectacularly, predictably, inevitably. And the town wasn't whispering anymore. They were shouting. Should have kept the daughter. She was the real brains. That place is finished. I should have felt triumphant, maybe even smug, but all I felt was a quiet, grounded certainty that everything happening now, was the consequence of choices I didn't make. Around noon, as I was sorting new parts, I heard the slow crunch of tires outside. I didn't need to look to know who it was. The door opened hesitantly. My father stepped inside, followed by my mom, and then my sister, who looked like she'd been crying. I inhaled deeply, preparing myself for some manipulation, some excuse, some attempt to twist the narrative, but instead, my dad looked smaller, older, like someone had drained the authority out of him. We need your help, he said, direct. No anger, no command, just the cold truth. For the first time in my life, I watched my father swallow pride, and it looked painful enough to break bone. I stayed silent, he continued. The shop is failing. They might shut it down permanently. We can't keep up. My mother's voice trembled as she added, people are angry. They're demanding refunds, repairs, and Mark... Well, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. My sister stepped forward, eyes red, voice cracking. We made a mistake. Hearing that felt like time paused. She wasn't defensive. She wasn't superior. She wasn't pretending. She was just defeated. You should have been the one running the shop, she whispered. We ruined everything. I didn't speak. My dad took a shaky breath. If you come back, just temporarily, You can fix this. You can save the business. There it was, the truth behind the apology. They didn't want me. They wanted my skill, my labor, my loyalty, my competence, the very things they'd thrown away like scraps. I walked around the counter slowly, standing in front of them. Not as their daughter, but as the owner of something they could no longer control. You want me to save the shop, I said. My father nodded silently. You want me to clean up the mess? He nodded again. My mother looked at me with pleading eyes. Please, she whispered, we don't know what else to do. I exhaled, deep, calm, certain. No. My mother flinched, my father stiffened, my sister's breath hitched. You're saying no? My dad asked, disbelief and desperation warring in his voice. Yes, I said. I'm saying no. Silence slammed into the room like a door. My father's face shifted. Anger tried to surface. Pride tried to flare. But both were too weak now. Why? He asked, and it wasn't accusatory. It was broken. Because, I said, you didn't just give my shop away. You gave away my trust, my work, my future. You chose someone unqualified because of your own biases. You chose comfort over competence. You chose tradition over truth. And now that the consequences are unbearable, you want me to bleed for your decisions again. My father's jaw clenched. My mother began to cry. My sister whispered, we need you. You needed me when you had me, I replied. But you taught me something. You taught me how to survive without you. My father stepped forward, voice cracking for the first time in my life. We'll give it back, he said. The shop, the business, everything. It should have been yours. I nodded. Yes, it should have been. Then take it, he said. Please. I took a breath so steady it surprised me. I don't want it, my mother gasped. My father nearly collapsed. My sister covered her mouth. I don't want the shop that cost me years of myself, I continued. I don't want the burden you disguise as legacy. I don't want a place built on my labor but credited to someone else. My father whispered, So? What now? I walked behind my counter again, placing my hands on the solid wood surface I'd built with my own money, my own sweat, my own courage. Now, I said, you rebuild your own mess or you close. That choice is yours. My sister let out a sob. My mom looked like she'd been stabbed. My father, he broke, truly broke. But I didn't move. I didn't comfort. I didn't negotiate because daughters are not bandages. And I was done being one. Finally, they walked out, shaken, hollow, and unable to stand as tall as they once did. When the door clicked shut behind them, I closed my eyes and let the quiet settle. But the universe wasn't finished with me yet. An hour later, my phone buzzed. It was the contracting company from before. The message read, offer approved. We'd like to move forward with your expansion plan. Expansion. My shop, my future, my rules. No parents, no betrayal, no apologies. And tell me, if you had the chance to rise from the ashes, your own family set on fire, would you dim your flame to save them? Or burn brighter than they ever imagined you could?